If you're a real estate investor, you've probably heard about a 1031 exchange. But what exactly is it? Let's break it down so that way we can learn a little bit more about how this can be a fantastic tool to help you in your real estate investing journey. So, a 1031 exchange is often called a like kind exchange. It comes from the IRS 1031 code, which is how it gets its name. What a 1031 exchange essentially is selling one property for a similar property. It does need to be a like kind property. So, as of the Jobs Act of 2017, this does need to be real estate. Previously, it could be other things. It used to be personal property, it could be other assets like artwork, but now 1031s are mainly focused on real estate. The 1031 exchange allows you to defer your capital gains by reinvesting into another like kind property. So again, like kind could be a vacation home, it could be a apartment complex, it could be a hospital complex, it could be something industrial. Just about anything that you can think of that has to do with real property is what would qualify for a 1031 exchange. Now, when you're thinking about how this actually works, there's a few key pieces that you have to think about. First and foremost, when you're doing a 1031 exchange, you need to understand what the gain on your property is going to be. Let's say that you bought a property 10 years ago for $200,000. A couple of years later, 5, 10 years down the road, you're about to turn around and sell that property for $800,000. Ignoring depreciation and some of the other things, let's just say that you're going to have a gain of $600,000. Depending on your tax bracket, you might owe 25 to 40% of that gain to the IRS as taxes for this sale. If you're doing a 1031 exchange, it lets you defer these taxes and basically reinvest that into a new property. So instead of having to pay, somewhere to the tune of $150,000, $200,000 to the IRS, you can take that $150,000 to $200,000 and reinvest it into a new investment property. Now, the property does have to be for investment purposes. That's one of the main hallmarks of a 1031 exchange. You can't sell a property and then buy another one and immediately move into the property that you're buying. It's not for primary residence. It is for investment properties. And that's a property that you've rented for more than 14 days in a calendar year, and at the same time that you've used for less than 14 days in a calendar year. In addition to having to make sure that it's a like kind property, there's also some time limits that you have to pay attention to when you're thinking about a 1031 exchange. From the date that your property originally sells, you have 45 days to identify a new property. From that sales date, you then have 6 months to actually close on one of the properties that you identified. Depending on your particular scenario, you may be able to identify 3 properties. In certain circumstances, you may be able to identify more properties. It's really important to know, though, that after that 45-day window, you cannot identify any new properties. So you really need to be paying attention to your timelines here. A couple other things that are really important when it comes to a 1031 exchange is the use of a qualified intermediary. That is a person who is going to hold the proceeds from the sale and then use them to fund the sale when you purchase the new property. If you get a hold of those proceeds anywhere in the process, that 1031 is invalidated. So you have to make sure that you're using a qualified intermediary and involving them right from the beginning of the sale of the original property. On top of that, it's a really, really important idea to work with a real estate agent who knows about 1031 exchanges and can guide you through this process, because it can be complicated and there's certainly nuances. The agent who you're working with is going to have a ton of information, and they can also make sure that they're connecting you with the right people who are going to be able to answer some of the nuanced questions and get you in contact with a good 1031 intermediary right from the get-go. Contact me to find out more information about how you can use a 1031 exchange to really save on some of those taxes and make sure that you're setting yourself up for a better investment in the future.